let's say you're watching this video and you're like, dude, I made 20 grand this year, I'm a server. Understood. Dude, there was a point where I was making 20 grand, you're making 20 grand, everyone's made 20 grand, right?
Yep.
I started off making $10 a month, and that was a struggle.
Hey everyone, my name is Hisham Khan and welcome to Income Over Outcome, your go-to source for all of the college and career resources that you need. Today we have the honor of chatting with a CEO of a super successful company at just 18 years old. His story of going from absolutely nothing to earning 6 figures a month is super motivational, and I want you all to hear it. Without further ado, here we have Jay Dewar. Jay, want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you do?
100%. So first and foremost, I do appreciate you having me on. I've been following you for quite some time, and I was so interested by some of the previous conversations you had. But for the viewers, my name is Jay. I run my own software engineering firm called Modere. We do full stack design, development, and marketing for small to medium-sized organizations.
The reason I wanted to have you on is because, like, you're a real one. Social media is full of people saying they run a business and flexing Lambos and Rolexes and all of that, but really their business is just finessing. What I like about you is I've seen your business, I'm your client, and I know how you operate.
100%. I mean, you open up YouTube or Instagram or whatever social media platform, there's always someone trying to sell you a course on how to make $100,000 a month.
Yeah.
While sitting on the pool side, you know what I mean? So it's, as I said, one of the biggest things that I've been trying to document on my social media is how an 18-year-old actually runs an organization, and the fact that you're actually able to see it now firsthand as a client of ours, that we actually designed a product, we developed it for you, and we're launching it fairly soon. And you had the ability to interact with our team. It just showcases that I'm running a real organization, not just working 2 hours on my bed, calling it a business, trying to sell you a bullshit course.
A lot of those people who sell those courses, the way they make their money
through the courses
is with the course. I mean, both you and I are on social media and we have followings. I'm sure you know the potential of money you can earn when you're selling a course. It's actually insane.
Ridiculous.
So tell me how you got into exactly what you do now.
Yeah, I started when I was pretty young. I believe it was maybe 9 or 10 years old when I got interested in web development. I was super bored one day. I was talking to this kid on my bus. His name was Andy, and he's like, yeah, like I was building this little platform. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, what was it? He's like, it's on a website called Weebly. No, I'm sorry. It was, at the time, it was Blogspot by Google. I created like this little blog, and then from there, I transitioned to learning actually about web design through a system called Weebly. I think it ended up getting sold for like $300 million actually. So it's crazy to see how they've evolved. And that was just design, but that was only drag and drop like website design. And then what ended up happening was on Weebly, you have the ability to actually edit the HTML and CSS. And I didn't know that. So I clicked the button and I felt like I broke my computer. So I was like, oh my gosh, what are all these weird lines and these numbers and these... Long story short, I actually found out that's how a website's actually powered, and Weebly is just kind of the middleman in terms of developing a site for someone that's not a developer. And then from there, I started developing it for clients. I started learning just through YouTube and courses alike in regard to how to actually design, develop, code, and then turn that into a business.
So it's always been like web design and coding is like your expertise. You didn't play around with different areas or different ventures before you settled on one that worked.
Yes and no. So that's a great question, because growing up, I had two big fascinations. One was computers, but more importantly, I was also really big into finance. I loved stocks, and I didn't have any money to play around with, but Google had, I think it was Google or maybe Yahoo. It was like Yahoo stocks, so you could have like a dummy portfolio, so I would play around with money there. But I remember, I think it was maybe 5th or 6th grade where I'm like, okay, I have to double down on one thing because I just don't have time to do both. So I chose the computer route, which I'm glad, I mean, it turned out great.
Yeah.
I started off only doing like just front end websites, right? Like the most simple websites, let's say you're a hair salon, you're like, hey, I just need a simple website to display my information in my business. Cool, we'll take care of it for $10 a month, right? When I was 11, that was the first deal I got. It was $10 a month for a place called Jillian Salon.
You're 11 years old. You walk into a salon and you're like, hey, I code and I can help you grow your business with a website. Is that like how it goes? Like what was that situation?
What ended up happening was I created my website. This is like a personal site I was just messing around with, and I showed my dad. I'm like, I got 500 views on my site.
That's impressive.
I showed it to my dad. He goes, Jay, this is so dumb. Like, you're wasting your time. If you're not making money, focus on your school. Like, focus on your product.
Yeah, classic.
Focus on like athletics, because at the time I was also pretty big into basketball too. So what ended up happening was, I was like, okay, like, you know what? Makes sense. He wants me to make money, I'll go make money. I had a huge list of potential clients. I would just go on Google, or what I would do is I would have a notebook with me, and every time we would drive by somewhere, I would write down the names of the businesses. So I'm like, I'll just call these people later.
Yeah.
But it took like over 100 calls, I'm pretty sure. It's just no after no after no after no. And then there was a business in Catasauqua, which isn't too far from me, and they're like, yeah, like, would be interested in that. I remember I had this whole presentation set up. Dude, it was such like I'm dude, it's crazy because I still have a lot of this stuff. But I had the presentation. I was like, this is where websites are going. This is why you should have one. We settled on $10 a month, and we called it a day.
That's wild to me though, that you as what, a 5th or 6th grader had that foresight. It seems like you had a business plan kind of in your head. You're like, okay, if I want to make money, I need to reach out to people. I need to develop a pitch. I need to like show what value I can offer.
At that age, I was just like, I love programming. I love doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And I don't want my parents to stop me from doing it. So it's like, just go make some money. I'm like, that makes sense.
Okay, so you start off with one deal making $10 a month. And now you're definitely not making $10 a month anymore. It's kind of snowballed into a bit more than that.
Just a couple dollars more, yeah.
How did you build upon that $10 a month into what you have now?
For a good period of time, I was doing those 10, then 25, then $30 a month deals. I'd be reaching out on people on Instagram as I grew up, a following, cold calling, whatever the case would be. But also along with that, as you said, you just chose that development route and stuck with it. So initially it was just like website design, right? But as I grew my skills, I learned back-end development, which was super helpful because a lot of the restaurants that we went to and we actually ended up pitching, it would be like, hey, yeah, we don't really need a website right now. We already have a Facebook page that already tells our story, but we don't have a place where people could order online. So it's like, okay, cool. If I learn how to integrate backend systems with their POS systems and things of that nature, I could actually generate revenue for them. And then you could also charge a premium to do so.
So like on social media, I'll go to your Instagram. I'll see you have a Rolex, a nice car, a really nice apartment. And I'm like, damn, this kid has made it. And it just seems like it came out of nowhere. But explaining the process to get from $10 a month, you were grinding out, not making any money. Now, 8-9 years later, you're actually able to reap the benefits of it. But a lot of people don't know that.
I see people talking about, oh my gosh, I don't make enough money. It's like, okay, cool, you're 26, you're 27 years old. Like my problem, to be honest, I'm brutally honest, right? So I'll just be like, okay, cool, like what courses, like I was having a conversation with someone in their 50s and they're like, this is the industry that I'm in, like for some reason, I'm not getting a job, I'm not scoring these interviews, something's not working. I go, understood. Like what courses are you taking? They go, excuse me? I'm like, the courses, like any courses, programs? No, I'm not doing that. Interesting. Are you reading any books? No. This person overweight as well. I'm like, okay. So you start connecting these dots and you go, you know what? Like this guy's not even taking care of himself. You're not even taking care of yourself. How are you educating yourself?
Yeah.
The problem with our educational system has nothing to do with if you're majoring in biology or computer science. The problem is that growing up, we're not taught how to learn. Mm-hmm. The fact that we're not taught that there's multiple ways to learn, but also the consistency of learning. The reason why kids hate school has nothing to do with just the way they're teaching shit, but also it's like, we're not teaching anything of importance. And also, we're not showcasing the importance of learning. Always like, do good for this test. I was at a business boot camp not too long ago. Man, these people are in their 50s and 60s years old, spending tens of thousands of dollars to learn. Like, there's one guy that I spoke to, he's in his 50s, right? He just bought a brand new house for $2.5 million. This guy is sitting on $3.5 million liquid in his 50s. And he's like, yeah, I go to these conferences and stuff maybe 5-6 times a year. I'm like, these conferences cost like $7,500. He's like, yeah, he's like, I'm like, how large is your business? He's like, I don't know, like $50 million. I'm like, makes sense. Because you see, at this age, people are investing in themselves. People are trying to make themselves better. So and this goes back to like the one advice that I had for people is just invest back in yourself.
It's like a compounding effect almost. The amount of money that you can save and like reinvest into your business is only gonna come back tenfold a few months or even a few years from
100%.
now. So that brings me to, do you like mainly reinvest most of what you earn right back into the business, or do you have like other ventures you're pursuing in like stocks or other investments or things like that?
Great question. So I started making real money, I would say in 2020. That's when like, before I was doing good, like just like you're doing good, but 2020 when I was like, okay, shit, like I'm actually making like a decent amount of money. So some of the funds that I did have, yes, I did allocate towards investing in the market. I think that was just really beneficial. My big goal for 2020 was to invest in real estate. But I mean, as you know, in the Northeast right now, it's just the real estate prices are absolutely ridiculous. Plus, I'm originally from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So even within the Lehigh Valley, everyone from New York and Jersey were just coming there. Everyone was just coming to Lehigh Valley because it's not that far from both of those places. So what ended up happening was to buy a house is now 18% higher. So it's like to get my return wouldn't make any sense. So for me, what I realized, I'm like, hey, if I just keep reinvesting back in the business, I'll be solid. And that's the reason why I was able to grow. I'm pretty much doubling my revenue year after year, if not minimum by 25-30%. So the reason I'm able to do that is because I'm reinvesting. But beyond that, I'm actually glad we're having this conversation, because the last 2 weeks or so, I've been really refining my budgeting for next year. And dude, I'm so excited because I'm actually cutting my salary like pretty much in half, trying to really live on like nothing. Obviously have like my needs met, but like just how could I stack my cash and just start pouring everything back in the business? Because as you know, the goal, I have a pretty substantial goal for next year. So
it's also really easy to let, as your income like grows, let your lifestyle grow with that. And so sticking with a certain lifestyle and capping that, and then keep like just making the income continue to grow without tapping into that extra income, I think is super key.
That's the mentality that I need to have. I was gonna buy a new car. I'm looking at it now, I'm like, do I really need a new car? The answer is no. Do I really need a new watch? Yes, but not really no. So I'm looking at it and just going, okay, because particularly now living in Dallas, dude, for the first 18 years of my life, I was living in Pennsylvania. I was living with my parents. So for me, I didn't have any expenses. So all the money that I had, I just kept on saving, investing. Take that to, you already know the lifestyle that I live right now. It's not necessarily the cheapest one, I mean, with the apartment, with all these things, but you look at it and you go, you know what? I don't want to be one of those people that I see in Dallas, because here it's so easy to get caught up in the fluff. Like people spending $1,200 on a bottle on a Tuesday to $1,000 dinners frequently twice a week. Like I'm not trying to get caught up in that lifestyle, because I understand that the goal that I want, the 100 mil, I can't get that if I'm spending stupid like that. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place to spend $1,000 on at Catch for the crispy shrimp, because it's totally worth it in my opinion. But in the same breath, that's not every week, and making sure that you're planning for that accordingly, I think is really important.
Yeah, I mean, you have to treat yourself sometimes, right? You're working insanely hard, so you should treat yourself, but it's important to not let yourself go. What do you think like keeps you grounded?
It's not that I don't have a lot of friends my own age, but a lot of my friends are in their 20s or 30s. I mean, my mentor's in his 50s, right? You're in these conversations, and to think is just so crazy, man. It's so big. So it allows you to take a step back and be like, oh my gosh, what I'm doing is nothing. And it gets me motivated. I'm like, okay, cool, there's so much room to grow. And I think the biggest thing for me is discipline, right? If you don't have discipline in every aspect of your life, nothing will work. As I'm sure you've seen, I've been trying to get discipline in the gym, trying to get discipline with my finances. Even if I'm doing all right now, doesn't mean I can't get better. I'm just like everyone else. Doesn't matter if you're making 10 grand a year, 100 or 100 million. I think it's the same principles.
I also think a key piece that you just kind of touched on is the company that you keep. Because, I mean, you are basically who you surround yourself with. Like, it's cliche, but it's totally true. And your friends are people like my age or above who have like solid businesses. And a lot of people my age I know are not even close to where you are, like mindset wise and career wise.
Like one of my big goals for 2022 is to like reduce my spending, particularly on like dinners. Cause like, dude, I mean, as I'm sure you know, when you're in bigger cities, dinners aren't cheap. Anywhere from like a couple $100 to I think the most it's ever been like $2,000, $3,000 for a dinner. So it can definitely add up. But what I've realized is sometimes when you're eating at the Ritz-Carlton and it costs a pretty penny to eat there, making sure that going back to you're surrounding yourself with the right people at that dinner $200 a person on a dinner could end up generating $25,000 worth of business in 60 days.
And you fly first class too, right?
Funny enough, I just closed a deal with someone that I was sitting next to 3 months ago on a plane. She was in first class. What ended up happening was I looked at her wrist, and dude, I love jewelry. And also, I just want to be clear. I know a lot of influencers are like, oh my gosh, like shop at Walmart, do this. I do like to shop at Walmart. I happily shop there, but I also do like my luxuries. But I saw this girl, she was sitting next to me, we're in first class, and I was like, you know what? Like, I know the Cartier bracelet that she's wearing. So I'm like, I love your bracelet. She's like, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm like, tell me about it. She starts going on. Because I know the bracelet costs $6,000. I already know that. So I'm like, if someone's spending $6,000 on a bracelet, that means they have to have some level of capital to be able to do that. Cool. She starts talking, da da da. I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, what exactly do you do? She's like, this is what I do. I'm like, oh, awesome. But also, another thing, you're wearing a $12,000 watch. People are gonna notice. They're like, oh my gosh, I see that you're wearing a nice Rolex. I'm like, oh, appreciate it. Thank you.
There you go.
She's like, yeah, this is what I do. I'm like, she's like, funny enough, we actually need your services. Are you free to meet in Dallas sometime in, no, what ended up happening was I'm like, hey, where exactly did you get the bracelet? Because I'm like, it's so hard to find. Where did you get it? She's like,
yeah,
I got it at the Cartier store in Highland Park in Dallas. I'm like, that's so funny. I live like not even 3 minutes away from it. She's like, that's great. Have the conversation. That was one client. I just pitched last week $85,000 for someone I met at the First Class Lounge in Chicago. This guy, super nice guy, same thing. I was like, sir, I love your watch. He's like, oh, this thing? Yeah, I think my wife got it for me. She's like, yeah, I got it for him. He's like, you have a Rolex as well? I'm like, oh yes sir. He's like, man, I was fucking a lot older when I got my watch. How'd you get yours? We started talking. Turns out this guy runs a $150 million medical firm in Nevada.
Jesus.
She's like, yeah, we just got back from a 30-day trip in Italy. It was wonderful. We were talking for 3 hours. I had all the fucking time in the world to kill. Dude, pitched for 85. Come on. So it's, as I said, it's putting yourself in the right position, in the right environments. Now, if you can't afford to fly first class, would I recommend you doing it? Absolutely not. Save your
No, I mean, you're probably not going to close $80,000 deals every single time you fly first class. So don't use that as an excuse to do it.
Exactly.
Regardless of spending a lot of money on a watch or spending a lot of money to fly first class, what it comes down to is you taking the initiative to go ahead and spark up a conversation. You don't have to spend a bunch of money to meet these people per se. That's not how you started. The way you started your business is by meeting normal ass people and just showing the value that you have. And I think that's what it comes down to. You're just doing that on a bigger scale now.
I still believe I'm the same guy that just wants to make $100 a month. So for me, what I used to do is in the winter, I would just start on one end of the street and just go door knocking. For businesses, I remember the first day I did it, I was with my dad. It was maybe 15 or 20 degrees in January. My dad's like, dude, it's so fucking cold. Like, let's go. I'm like, let's go. I ended up selling a website for, I think it was $1,000, maybe $1,200, and he gave us a $200 deposit right there and then. And I was like, and my dad's like, dude, you just sold.
That's like a moment where the light sparks and you're like, what I'm doing now is worth it. And like, it probably solidifies that you could have grown from there.
And it took me almost 2 hours because we were there for a while. We were having this conversation and I had a flyer with me, man. A flyer with me is $500 down, $500 for your hosting or in maintenance every year. Dude, that motivated the shit out of me. So I'm like, dude, I'm the same guy. So that's why yes, we have multiple employees. I'm so blessed that our client base is everyone from startups that have raised $100 million all the way up to Fortune 500 companies that do $10 billion a year. That's these people that we work with. This is not theoretical situations. We've worked with these people, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, I have no problem picking up a phone and cold calling. No problem going DMing people. For me, I'm the same guy. I don't think I've changed. Yes, I might have some luxuries in life for sure, but I'm the same dude, and I'm still willing to put the 14 hours in. I'm not any different from anyone else.
You grind a lot, but really all it takes with social media, whatever your business you want to do, school, work, career, whatever, all it takes is one person to believe in you or one thing to just work out and the rest can be history.
I think this is a good opportunity for us to take a couple steps back and go, let's take this to like, you're making 30 grand a year. If you're making 30 grand a year, the objective isn't to be at 30 grand for the next 50 years. For example, let's say you're watching this video and you're like, dude, I made 20 grand this year, I'm a server. Understood. Dude, there was a point where I was making 20 grand, you're making 20 grand, everyone's made 20 grand, right? Man, how do I get to, I don't know if I'll make $250,000 next year, but instead of 19 or 20 grand, let's shoot for 27 grand.
Right. Your goal should align with where you are in life.
But also, I think what keeps people moving forward is you're having goals, right? If you're not moving forward, you can make $1 million a year, but if you're just constantly at the million, doing the same shit every single day, the same routine, the same everything, dude, it's gonna get boring. Just to see me speak for myself, when I've been the most down in my life, I'm a very happy guy. You already know I'm always cracking jokes, but there's points in my life where I'm just like, dude, this is so fucking shit, right? October was a great example because it was just problem after problem after problem.
You're right though. Life is hard for everybody. Doesn't matter how much money you have or whatever. Everyone goes through shit. You went through shit this year, a lot of it. I've gone through my good pile of shit as well. But what it comes down to is not playing victim, owning up to what you can actually impact, and then, just moving forward.
Right? But not only is that the reality, but more important than that, I was just doing the same shit. Regardless of what the number is. You continue doing the same shit over and over and over and over and over, it's gonna get boring. So for me, I think it's important, regardless of whether you're making 50 grand a year, 50 grand a month, or 50 grand a day, something has to keep you moving forward. And I think having a goal allows you to do that.
I think that's kind of human nature, right? We have to constantly be evolving and growing, no matter what it is. We're talking about money. It doesn't have to be money. Like, let's say you're earning 80 grand a year, you're happy. Maybe your goal shouldn't be money, but fitness or mental health, like whatever you want it to be, you should always have something that you are working on. And then second piece, in order to actually grow and evolve, you need to have realistic goals.
And that, I think what you said was so perfect because it's crazy because I love having these conversations where other people can see as well, because we talk about these things behind the scenes all the time.
People don't know this, but like this is just like a casual conversation.
Yeah, this is like a Tuesday conversation with us.
We have had conversations similar to this a few times.
Going back to the social media thing is, hey, do you want to know how you can make $400 million in a month with 2 hours? No, the reality is you start small, you grow from there. Like people don't think about this, but like, I started off making $10 a month, and that was a struggle. Like I remember we had this restaurant where I was making $30 a month, and they didn't pay for 3 months. Bro, that's $90. And I was like, brother, I was struggling. People don't realize the first MacBook that I bought, my dad had to get it financed. I had to pay out of my own pocket $77 a month. For 18 months. Shout out to Barclays, because without your credit card, I wouldn't be able to do it. So if you're gonna do something, have a plan, have something that you're following,
right?
Commit to it, and if you stay on the course long enough, you'll eventually find success.
So a lot of my content, is focused on like, how do you find success in a practical, logical, reasonable manner? Going to college, finding something that is actually going to earn your money and is like in demand in the job market. Because I have a video on high-paying careers that you can get without a college degree. One of those things is web development. As someone who's like deep in that industry, what do you say to someone who's watching my videos and they're like 15, 16 years old? They want to make it big. How do they start when they have no idea what they want to do?
The greatest thing, whether it's design, because as an agency, we cover design, development, marketing, content, branding. We do a lot of things. The greatest thing now is, I know when I was starting out, it wasn't as big. Now, if you want to learn literally anything, let alone a paid course, let alone shit's free on YouTube. First, I think it's important to just get the grasp down, just the fundamentals. YouTube's a great way to do that. But then if you want to get more specific, there's a lot of courses, whether it's on Coursera, I know they have it. Udemy has great courses, but also what they allow to do, which is I think is going to be a fucking huge thing for you, or in the audience as a whole, is if you're trying to become a developer, there are literally programs that cost $0.
Oh, really?
$0.00, and they will teach you everything. And they will also guarantee you a job. Literally, they won't charge you unless they guarantee you a job. You have zero risk. So there's things like that. Also, a big thing that I've done is, at least for me personally learning things, a big thing that I could say is do projects. I think it's really important that you obviously have courses and things of that nature, but greatest thing about YouTube nowadays is that people will actually walk you through how to develop a project, whether it's an app or website. I think that's very helpful.
For me, I can learn and read and watch videos all I want, but I don't actually grasp anything until I do it. That's kind of how I learned to like invest money or even like make YouTube videos. If you watch my first YouTube videos, they're complete shit. They're horrible. But just continuing to practice and build upon my skills is what got me to where I am today.
And then same thing when it comes to design. I know when I was trying to perfect my design skills, it was just by doing. Dude, it's crazy because there's so many free courses. There's also paid courses. You can get mentors, you can get coaching. But I did a mix of everything. But then there's also, if you're trying to learn more computer science-based things, obviously there's courses. But also, what you could do now is, I know MIT has this. I also know Harvard University has this as well. They have, they actually put out all their computer science classes online. And there's a shout out to this guy. His name is David Malin. He actually runs a program called CS50, which is the Introduction to Computer Science, and it's literally the course that they take at Harvard University.
So essentially what it comes down to is actively learning and trying to find the resources to perfect your craft.
100%. And dude, it's crazy because nowadays there's courses and there's videos and there's books and all this stuff's for free. Like, for example, this conversation that we're having, it's gonna be uploaded to YouTube for free, right?
No, I'm gonna put a $10 paywall on it.
Yeah, we should do that. It's like for every $10. No, but there's that. If you're in business, you want to grow your business. I mean, there's free stuff online everywhere. But also, don't get me wrong. I think it's important to also pay. I think at certain point, the free shit just doesn't work. It could work, but I think it's important to reinvest back in the business or even within yourself.
I mean, that kind of goes into college in general. Is the investment in college worth it?
Oh gosh, I think college could be worth it depending on what industry you're going into, but I feel as if for a decent number of industries, it's not worth it. My problem really has less to do with college, more has to do with high school.
Fair enough.
High school, middle school. That's where my like the way you're like college is worth it. For me, I'm like high school and fucking middle school is complete shit. So my gripe is more with that because that's what I've actually been through. Like I realized the shit that they're teaching has absolutely nothing to do with.
That's actually an interesting take. I feel like not many people talk about that, and I do agree with you. Like, a high school education doesn't set you up for the real world at all, which is why I think college is important, because college does give you like solid skills, like soft skills as far as like networking and meeting people who can help you out in life, and hard skills depending on your major you choose that can help you with a solid career.
I think some of the content within college could be beneficial, but I think the most important thing as a whole is if I ever go back to college, which I might just fucking go to college just so I could meet people. I think that could be the most beneficial. I mean, the amount of people that I've known that have gotten great careers, they eat both in tech, out of tech, just because of opportunities they've experienced within college, I think it can be useful. I think now the landscape of education has changed pretty significantly, but I think my gripe is more towards the high school, the middle school.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone is going to argue with you about the fact that the American high school system needs to be revamped and way more practical. But I also have to say, Jay, that I think most people need the time in high school.
Yep.
Like, you have a wild sense of drive in you, so you're just able to drop out and still be super, super successful. But if you just look at the stats, they show that most people who drop out of high school are not going to get anywhere close to the amount of success that you have. And I think, like, you realize that.
Like, I've always been a fairly independent person, but I also do understand that not everyone's like me. It makes it, the majority of people aren't, which is totally, it's understandable. I mean, once again, I have certain strengths in some things. Like, other people are really good at golf. I can't golf for shit, but I'm good at running a business. So like, that's what I'm focusing on, right? So we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Not that I'm better if someone else is worse or someone's better, I'm worse. But my problem is this: if you're going into college, right? The lack of skills that you have. Like, I'm a big skill guy. I think knowledge is great, but what are the skills? Because that's what you could actually monetize, right? So I think I've been able to do what I've been able to do, not because I'm just so intelligent, I'm just the most beautiful, caramelized, beautiful young man. No, it's because I have...
I mean, you are though.
Stop it, darling. You're so kind. But I think the real, like, I like to take a step back and go, you know what? I have great networking skills. For me, the reason why not only we're having this interaction right now, but also because you're a client of ours, it's because I took the time out and go, hey, what's up, Hisham? I love what you're doing. And I sent you a video on Instagram, right? But then also,
Yeah, you slid into my DMs.
dude, it still works to this day. I love sliding the DMs. You know how it is. But even beyond that, like, why not at the age of 10 years old can we communicate like what we do? Like, I think we all should be able to go up in front of a crowd and be like, hey, this is what we do. Hi, my name is Jay Dewar. I'm 10 years old. I like coloring. Like, regardless of what it is, if I do have kids one day, I want to make sure that they can talk to anyone. Why not? Why can't 16-year-olds cook? Like, people know how to cook. It's not difficult to learn how to cook. I promise you it's not difficult, right? There's that. There's communication. How about, like, how to dress properly? It will blow your mind how important you could be you could have such shit skills in this business or any business, but you know how to present yourself, you'll close the deal.
That's true.
Right? So I think being able to present yourself, being able to communicate, how about talk?
I mean, even in high school, you have your friends and stuff, right? But everyone is in their own clique, right? You're not out there actively trying to make friends and go out of your comfort zone. High school is a bubble that is your comfort zone.
But even beyond that, right? Like, I know people when they're 19, they're 20, they're like, dude, like, I just don't know what am I supposed to do. Dude, that's totally okay.
No matter how successful you are, you always feel like you don't know what exactly you're doing.
Right, always. So for me, it's like, okay, cool. If you're 19 years old and you're like, okay, I really, shit, man, like, I don't know if I like this one thing, but could it turn into a career? I'm not sure. It's totally okay. Do you have your basic skills down as an individual? For me, the amount of business I've been able to, for example, you know the story. I won't get into super detail in it, but how I was able to get my mentors is just me being able to reach out and communicate. Hey, you're on the side of the street. Shit, fuck, I'll go present to them. Hey, what's up? The amount of kids that probably won't be able to take a simple video just telling them about what they do is like, come on, right? So there's that, being able to sit at a conversation in a dinner and just pitch yourself.
Yeah, I do think sales is a skill though that leads to just a lot of other doors and skills opening up in general. Because thinking back on it, I went door knocking in high school to like sell random shit to people. I've done that. Of course, my first job in college was just cold calling people at an insurance company. I didn't have my own business, but I still learned that skill of how to talk to a random person and kind of sell them on something. And I think because of that, it was kind of a snowball effect. It helped me reach out to people in college. How I got my first internship was just walking up to a person who was presenting at a club. I just walked up to them and I was like, yo, I love your business, like this is super cool. They're like, okay, you should definitely like come apply to us. They gave me their info, I applied and like I got a job.
At the end of the day, whether I'm pitching myself to you to be like, yeah, dude, we should develop your site, whether it's me doing it to a Fortune 500 client or if it's me pitching to get a cashier's job in McDonald's, I have to showcase what I'm about, why you should choose me, and I think it's the same principles regardless of whether you're a business owner, whether you're in high school, regardless of whatever the case may be. So I think it's making sure that you have real skills that you can implement.
Life in general is essentially selling yourself.
100%.
No matter what you're doing, everyone's a salesman for themselves, whether you want to get a job, get into college, like go to med school, whatever it is, you're trying to sell yourself to get to where you want to be. And I will also say, your DM slide strategy, it's probably the best I've ever seen. Like, I did not think about it in the moment, but I get hundreds of DMs a day and I normally don't respond to them because they're just text paragraphs. But you sending a video, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna click on this and see what it is. Like, it piques your interest and then you actually have something valuable to say.
Well, I mean, it's crazy because I've used this strategy for clients too. Like, even to this day, I'll like DM a restaurant being like, hey, what's up guys? Love your food. I was actually here a couple of days ago. That's actually the reason why I like to eat out a lot, because I like to see like, okay, cool. I look at everything as potential business, but hey, tag them. Okay, cool. Like, this guy was at a restaurant. Send them a video right after. Hey, what's up? Hopefully you're well. I just wanted to let you know I was at your restaurant. I had a phenomenal time. This is what I do. Once again, if you're not interested, totally understand, but just wanted to see if there's any value that I could add to you. Plus, what's cool is you have to open the message to actually read, to view the video. Plus,
you do.
Also, for you, the big thing that I wanted to do a video was I just knew, because I know you knew the amount of idiots influencers that will be like, I'm 18 years old and I run. So I wanted to send a video just to showcase like, okay, I actually know what I'm talking about. This is what I do.
Yeah, I mean, if I just got some text, we might not be having this conversation. I feel like you've touched a lot on kind of the business and financial side of things. Let's talk more about what you're doing to grow like personally. So like fitness is a huge thing. I've seen recently, we've been posting a lot of stories of you in the gym. I see your biceps getting bigger.
For me, my main goal, particularly as I grow from just like a young kid to an actual man, is making sure I'm covered in all areas of my life. So what I've been doing, I kid you not, hopefully this doesn't sound too bad, but every month, or usually at the end of every month, I like to write down a list of things that I'm like, I don't like this about myself. I'm like, this is just stuff that like, I don't like, I need to work on. So it's like, okay, cool. So it's crazy because it sounds super nerdy, but I'll just develop a plan to get better at that. So I started doing that earlier this year. It started off with, I was like, man, I'm 18 years old. I don't have a skincare routine.
Wow.
So what I do, I have to invest some time, money, some energy, and I develop a skincare routine.
How the hell do you have the wherewithal to think about all of this? Like, what 18-year-old man has a freaking skincare routine? No one.
No, I mean, it's crazy because for me, I just look at myself and go, in every aspect of my life, am I doing good? So it's like, I have my business, I have my finances, right? Cool, my business could be doing great, but if I'm not taking care of my personal finances, business doesn't mean anything. Cool, how about like, but also, it's also important for me to be brutally transparent. Like, if I'm going on a date with someone, right? I'm not trying to look fucking ugly. Like, let's not sit here and lie to ourselves, right? So I want to look good.
Is that a motivation?
Not really. I don't really have a problem when it comes to girls. Like I was getting girls, but like I was always just super focused on work. So for me, like now, I guess my confidence without a doubt has improved. But it's just me being in the gym. I've been lifting for like 4 or 5 weeks super consistently. Like I'm in the gym every day. So that helps for sure.
I think this is also something else you figured out super early on that a lot of people don't understand. Like working out doesn't just make you look better and feel healthier. Like think about it, our bodies as human beings are not meant to be sitting around inside all day, twiddling our thumbs on our phones. Like that's only something that started in like the past 100 years. Exercising your body like you're supposed to will make you way more clear-headed and just feel more alive, which means you'll be better in all aspects of your life. And I also feel like I tell you this a lot, but like, you're wise beyond your years.
Thank you, brother.
But like, why do you think that is? All 11-year-olds I know are sitting here watching YouTube videos, not going door to door, trying to be millionaires. So what is it in you that's different?
A lot of people ask me like, dude, like what motivated you as a kid to like work so hard and take these sacrifices? I mean, when my parents came to the United States initially, like my dad lived in a garage in New York. And he came in November, so you know how cold it gets, right? Like this guy made no money. This guy grinded his ass to provide for his wife. Now, 3 kids. I have 2 amazing older sisters, so who are both killing it. Love you both. So for me, it's like, man, if this guy did it at the age of what, 17, 18 years old. So yeah, what I'm doing sounds great, but is it as difficult as what he did? No. What I'm doing is like a cakewalk compared to that.
Yeah.
So I like to take things into perspective and go, yeah, if I have an opportunity in this one life to fucking kill it, I'm gonna take it because someone else had to sacrifice for it. Like, I didn't have to sleep in a garage. I slept in a great house. I had my own room. I had 3 meals every day. I had snacks. I was living a great life. So for me, growing up, I had this constant desire to be like, oh my gosh, like, if my parents sacrificed so much for me, I'll make it worth it. That's why I was always obsessed with money and work as a kid, because that's the way I'll make my parents proud. And even going back to like the car, for example, like that's a car that, it's my car. Mm-hmm. I've driven it one time. That's not actually my car. I don't know if you know that, but like that's a car I gifted my dad. My dad drives that car. As like, that's a thank you to him. And it's crazy because yeah, it's a nice car. It's a Tesla Model Y, brand new. It's a beautiful car. But that's not even close to what he's been able to do for myself and my family. You know what I mean?
Was there like a specific moment in your childhood where you had that realization?
I mean, I remember like, and this had a really profound effect on me, but it was I was a Boy Scout growing up, and I used to go with my neighbors, and I remember one of the conversations we were having on the way to Boy Scouts, and it was, so, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about this in such a long time, but we asked him, when you were like 17, 18 in high school, college, like what'd you do in your free time? And he was like, oh my gosh, college was such a blast. We'd party, we played baseball, we did all these things, and I'm like, that's so cool. I went to my dad, and I was maybe like 10 years old. I'm like, Dad, what did you do? What were your hobbies? He was like, Jay, I was working. Like, I was working to provide for the family.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't have time for hobbies.
so I was like, oh my gosh. So I look at that, and I'm like, my whole life has been a replication of just like, the one thing that I have is this opportunity. I cannot give it up. So like, that's why I'm willing to sacrifice more than what everyone else is, because I understand that to live in America is such a blessing. Yes, we have problems as a nation for sure, but like, just taking advantage of the situation that you're in. So that's what I've been trying to do the last fucking 9 years, just take advantage of the situation and build a life.
Like that, what you said, basically wraps up perfectly exactly what I've been trying to get to this entire time, is what motivates you to basically be as successful as you are. And I think it all comes down to that one motivational factor is your parents and the drive to basically be your best.
It's not that like my whole life revolved around work 100 million hours a day. No, but it's like, I think when you look at the average person, right? What do they spend the majority of the time doing? Working. But everyone likes to make it sound like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Make it your life, which is okay, but also it's important to take a step back and realize, what are you doing it for?
So what are you going for, Jay? What's the end goal?
So at least one day I can look back in my life and say, okay, cool. What my dad did for me, yes, my dad and I have our problems for sure, just like every kid and their parents do, but I love him to death. But it's more important to be like, man, this guy sacrificed so much for me. Hopefully one day I could even give him 10% of what I've done. And then the same thing, the way I look at, like, dude, what my mentor's done for me in Dallas has changed my life. I love this. Like, this guy's literally like a father to me. And it's crazy because my goal is to be like, man, if I could do that for, what if I could motivate 10 other people to work harder? Like, nothing motivates you more in life than getting Instagram DMs being like, brother, just seeing you in the gym makes me so happy. Keep killing it. I'm so proud of you. This motivated me to work. See, and I like to do like the little time lapse now too on my stories. So it's like, to me, those small things make a big difference because people have impacted my life in the same way. So I feel as if it's my responsibility to do that for
We spoke about the downsides of social media and how things can be twisted. But I also think that because of social media, now is like the best time ever in the history of civilization to get out there, get ahead, and kind of get whatever you want. Meet new people, connect, slide into a DM. And these opportunities didn't exist when our parents were coming up. Even like 10 years ago, they didn't exist at all.
First and foremost, 100% agree with you on that. It's crazy because now, like, I'm in Dallas, Texas right now. You're in Manhattan?
Yeah.
You're impacting my life and vice versa, and we're so far away from each other. The way I look at it is this. I don't need to necessarily try to be the biggest, baddest guy on planet Earth. My goal is just to be the best person I can be. Super cringy hearing it out loud, like, dude, what a fucking noob. But all I could wish for is someone else thinks like, you know what, fuck man, I'll go in the gym today. You know what, I'll stay that extra hour. Regardless of whether I don't like the job or I like the job, hey, I'll just put myself in a better position to succeed. So I'm not worried about changing the whole world or influencing the entire world. I'm just worried about, yo, if I could just influence myself and fucking keep myself in check, and all I'm gonna do is sit a camera down and document and share a little bit about my day, if that helps, it helps.
All right, everyone. I hope you learned something from this video. Be sure to follow Jay and check out the website he designed for me, incomeoveroutcome.com. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out one of these videos. I'll see you next time. But until then, peace.